Hello and welcome to Sip of Sunshine, the podcast bringing you chatter about all things SEND by Sunshine Support. My name's Kat and I'm your host. Today, I'm joined by our Head of Advocacy, Kelly Jarvis, and Jess Ward, our PAP Letter Queen. We will be talking support for parents in the SEND world, the rise in diagnosis, and also the most bizarre things we've seen written in an EHCP. So if you're all comfy, let's get started. Hello and welcome to Sip of Sunshine. Welcome back, Kelly.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I had such fun doing it the last time. I'm really looking forward to this.
And a huge welcome for the very first time, Jess.
Hello, thank you for having me. I've been so excited to do this.
It's really lovely having you with us. I know it's hard to squeeze it in, so I do massively appreciate it, especially with how busy we are at the moment.
I know.
Yeah, it is really busy. It's the I think summer brings with it quite a lot of tribunal hearings. That's what I've got anyway. So I'm in and out of tribunal hearings, but then also the court like to send you things at the last minute and tell you you've got like 2 days to act on it. And of course, when you've already got people that you were going to see anyway, it's about finding time. But I really like being busy. Do you, Jess? Because I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel a bit lost if I'm not busy, almost like I've forgotten something all the time.
Yeah, I hear that.
I also love being busy. It kind of just scratches that itch in my brain. I get bored if I'm doing the same thing for too long.
Mm-hmm.
I like how varied life is at Sunshine.
Yeah, very true.
Support for parents. So the first topic we're going to discuss today is one that I'll hold my hands up and say I don't actually know a lot about. So you are going to be teaching me an absolutely enormous amount in this section, and it's the quality of parent support across different local authorities. So things like SENDIAS. I have no idea what that is, so please enlighten me, talk me through.
Go for it, Jess. I'm always the one who talks first, just because I don't shut up. So I'm going to train myself to just be quiet and listen.
Wow. So we do find that different local authorities do have a number of different things on offer. SENDIAS is one we hear of quite a lot. A lot of different authorities have SENDIAS. They have support through that. So generally you find that most local authorities will have something on their website, almost what's called the local offer. That's generally something that's very commonly used, which basically just gives very basic information, sends you to links of sort of different providers for things, will give you a number of helplines to call, things like that. That's a very common thing that you see in local authorities. In terms of in-people support, so some local authorities do have sort of charities that are very sort of accessible for parents, but quite a lot of the time you find that there's not a great deal there. And a lot of parents come to us sort of as a last resort because they feel very lost because their local authorities don't offer a great deal. They come to us sort of being given very mixed information from different sources. Nothing's very streamlined. You seem to find that parents have had some information from school, some information from the LA themselves, and when they've approached different charities or advocacy services, have then had further information, and they seem so lost, don't they, Kelly? When they get, it's really hard to sort of then untangle everything and sort of give them the right information.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think one of the things that we find a lot is we sometimes have to have some quite awkward conversations where parents are coming to us with information that they've been given, which is not correct. And this isn't to say that all the services out there, dish out wrong information willy-nilly, because they absolutely don't. And there are some incredible, knowledgeable professionals working for these, different ways of getting parental support. But we can't sort of deny the situations we've been in, the picture that we've got, in that, there's there has had to be some sort of realigning of knowledge and information on our part.
Yeah.
And I always say this, I say it all the time. So anyone who knows me, who might be listening to this podcast, be like, oh, here she goes again. I love my job at Sunshine so much. but I am actually very frustrated that I have to exist. It shouldn't be necessary for us to exist. But not only do we exist, we are growing by the day. There are so many families out there who are crying out for consistent, knowledgeable support, which, they wouldn't be doing that if what was on offer was enough, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really sad. The other thing that we find, and Jess, I don't know if you've had this happen before, but there's sometimes, because every local authority is different, how it sets up things like SendYes. So SendYes is a free service which offers a sort of advocacy, a bit like, elements of what we do at Sunshine. It's free of charge. Some parents that have come to us who said that they're sort of sometimes a bit reluctant to use SendYes. They feel that SendYes is too intertwined within the local authority itself. So often they can share the same office. So you've got local authority caseworkers in one half of the office and SendYes in the other. Now, that's absolutely not to say that that should be a reason not to trust SendYes at all, because we're all part of the same team around the child. Some approaches to advocacy that we really don't subscribe to at Sunshine are all about belligerence and argument. So it's about, finger wagging and going in hard with the local authority. Actually, we find that the better approach is collaboration and understanding and empathy and keeping the child at the centre. So we're all the same team around the child. So it's no big deal if they're all in the same room together. However, some of our parents have had a really tough journey, and they try, but they can't quite sort of untangle the concept of SendYes and the local authority being in like the same room. And they need somebody who has a bit more independence and a bit more separation, I think. Jess, have you come across that before?
Quite a lot, actually, yeah. Particularly in previous roles before Sunshine, a lot of parents approached us who had received involvement from SendYes, and whether there was sort of, backroom communication or not, obviously I will never know, and I will never want to sort of step into
cast
that realm.
aspersions. No, exactly.
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But I completely understand why parents have that impression. We find it a lot as well with the experts at the local authorities. Parents have that concern as well, I've found, that they'll say, well, it's a local authority expert. And that level of mistrust that they've obviously developed over time as parents, you can completely understand it. It's such an emotionally draining journey, and they're so stressed, they're so overwhelmed. I always say to parents, it's a completely new world, the world of SEND and EHCPs, and nobody trains you for it. It's not like there's a manual and here you go, read this, and you'll be completely clued up.
And it's crazy because obviously every local authority is different too.
Yeah.
So you can't, there's no consistency. Like we don't, even in how an EHC plan is laid out, every local authority has a different format. And as we know, there was very recently a big sort of hoo-ha where the government were going to issue some quite significant changes within the world of SEND. And now, of course, everything's up in the air with the government anyway, because we've got this impending election. We don't really know what's going to change and how it's going to change and what policies are going to stay and what, so we don't know. But one of the big changes that was proposed by all of the SEND reform was that all local authorities should have the same format of an EHC plan. And that actually makes a great deal of sense, because we look at one plan from one local authority and it's laid out so differently to the point where, for example, the needs in good plans that we see, it goes needs in one column, provision to meet those exact needs in the next column, who will do it, when they'll do it, how long it will last for, and all of that. And it's all laid out and you can actually tally it all together. You can see, okay, I can see how that provision meets that need. Great. And then you get other plans that just list all the needs right at the beginning, then have a bunch of other stuff like outcomes and things, and then go on to provision. And what we have to do then is sit there and we have to play a little matching game where we go, there's a need. Right, find the provision to meet that need dotted around the whole plan. And it takes forever. Now, and we're professionals, right? We know this like the back of our hand. how on earth are parents meant to understand that that's how they've got to unpick their plan and find out, what provision is there to meet the needs? It is a complete minefield. And then,
I think the bonus as well
yeah.
with EHCPs that are in Holland is that, the number of times we receive an EHCP and we go back to the parent and say it's not specified and quantified because it hasn't said this, and this. And as you know, this is my favourite topic.
Yeah.
And I hunt people down for failing to do this. But, them columns make it so much easier for a parent to then go back and say, you haven't given me this level of information. Whereas if it's on 2 different pages at opposite ends of an EHCP,
yeah,
you're never going to be able to know.
Exactly. And then parents try and seek that support. So they, I'll give you an example. I won't say the local authority and I won't say the service, but a parent came to me recently and said, here's my draft plan, could you have a look? So I did, and I went back and I said, look, they've said that that your child can have this adult support for self-regulation reasons, basically, when they need it. And I've said, but we don't know when that will be. We don't know how much adult support the school need to make sure that they've paid for. And she said, oh yeah, I did think that. But then when I spoke to said service, they told me that they couldn't, the plan can't specify that because we don't know when the child will need regulation. So it's up to the school to decide that. And I was like, okay, but it is actually, a legal requirement that they do specify that, because unless they allow for the maximum amount of time your child might need that, how will you know that there will be somebody there to help your child? We can't predict dysregulation. What we have to make sure that we do is follow the plan. And if the plan says an adult needs to be involved in the, re-regulation of your child, then we've got to specify it somehow. Otherwise, how do you know you're going to get that? And the parent was like, oh, this is what I thought. I'm not going crazy. But I was told that it was up to the school to decide how much. And I'm like, school have no resources. They don't have enough money to pay for a random new adult. We've got to make sure that it comes through the plan.
The rise in diagnosis.
Obviously, in a lot of media outlets at the moment, they're blaming TikTok, they're blaming reels on social media for the rise in diagnosis, not just in children, but adults as well. And it's almost like they're saying that it's parents want an excuse for their child's behaviour. They want that label so that they don't have to parent effectively. It infuriates me. Hugely infuriates me.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think I've never encountered a parent who has wanted to excuse their child's behaviour via a diagnosis. Sometimes as parents, we want to naturally seek an answer. We think, this is a really hard life and this is not necessarily what we signed up for or subscribed to when we thought, let's have a family. You've got your Von Trapp family in your head skipping down the mountain. Life doesn't go that way. And I think we're only human when we try and seek out some why that might be. But I've never met a parent who uses it as an excuse. And I've never met a parent who has, wanted this life. We do a lot of work with schools with children who have school avoidance issues. And we've got a really good webinar coming up on that soon as well. And if this speaks to you as a listener, make sure you sign up and you watch that webinar. But we work with a lot of schools who appear to have an attitude of think a parent wants their child to stay at home. And you just think, what parent doesn't envisage their child skipping out of the door and being like, bye, see you later. And you're like, bye, see you later. And then you get on with your day. No parent is like, I would like to have a 2-hour-long battle where my child's screaming and saying, Mummy, please don't send me. Please don't send me. I hate it. Oh, people want that. Do they? Just crazy. But I think the diagnosis thing, and Jess, you're quite good at knowing about this sort of thing, I think. The diagnosis thing, we live in a really connected world now that we didn't live in before. And we can find a tribe a lot easier remotely than we would have been able to in person, even as little as 10 or 15 years ago. So isn't it sort of natural that more people are sort of finding an affinity and identifying with
I think that's
things?
the thing as well, and I think just the rise in sort of, the internet, the sources of information that are out there. Before, parents would probably feel very isolated in that, they might not really know anything about, for example, autism or ADHD. And, lady, described as the naughty child, which is completely not, obviously not the case, but that's how it used to be painted. But now that there's more information out there, people are a lot more switched on to this kind of stuff. And social media and being able to, the number of parents we have that say, I'm in a group on social media, and they get information from other parents.
Looking for expert guidance in the world of special educational needs and disabilities? Send. Sunshine Academy is your one-stop solution. Gain access to a wealth of knowledge through webinars covering topics like autism and dyslexia, along with tailored learning resources, all for just $10.99 a month. Empower yourself today with Sunshine Academy and take the first step towards a brighter future.
Because, you're proud of yourself for being good at the game. Everyone's telling you you're good at the game. It's great. And, if we blame screens for, giving children ADHD, we're at risk of taking away a lifeline. And we are at risk as well of, what we were saying earlier about diagnosis and the increase of diagnosis. Oh, the increase in diagnosis because everyone's got screens now. No, what we've got is we've got a greater interconnectivity. And if we then break that by just removing all of that, what we are in danger of going back to is the world that we were in, previously, where there's not accessible information, there's not accessible tribe around us, and we're just essentially asking people to put themselves back in their boxes and not be, neuro-affirming, which I don't really want to live in a world like that.
No, I definitely don't. I'm that, I'm 39 now, and I was diagnosed ADHD like a year and a bit ago by therapy, because I'd had 2 children back to back. I've got 5 in total, but I had one, and then 18 months later I had another. COVID had just finished when the second one was born, and I was literally dropping. I wasn't just dropping plates, I was smashing them again. Of having to keep everything spinning, and all I wanted was, everything to stop and be silent for 5 minutes, because being stuck in the house, I realised that I was using 1,000,001 things to cope with the hyperactivity in my brain. Because my brain wouldn't stop. I've got no breaks in there whatsoever. I can't stop my train of thought. Once it's going, it's going. I just have to follow it.
And that's mum life as well, isn't it? That you're constantly having to think about 100 different things. And, it's like you were saying, Kelly, you're just sort of seen as managing, and, everything's sort of coming together. But people don't realise that in your head as a mum, it's swirling around a million miles an hour and you don't stop. So combine that with actually having an undiagnosed condition, it must be absolutely unbearable at times.
I think it was. I think I just didn't realise it. And then because the whole world stopped for COVID, and I very got used to just, being able to homeschool kids, get up at whatever time we wanted, as long as the work was done for the day. It was kind of nice not to have those pressures, but at the same time, the other side of me was just like, I'm bored now.
Yeah.
Bake banana bread.
Oh, banana bread.
So screen time did also become my thing as well. It was my way to connect the outside world. So I really, really do get it. And I was very lucky with my diagnosis, as in the therapist that I had, because of where we were just coming out of multiple lockdowns. We weren't sure whether we were going into another one. It was online. And she actually before did in-person diagnosis for ADHD, and just went into therapy because it was an easier medium for her in terms of having to do everything virtual. So I was very lucky, and I do think COVID has played a massive part in people spending more time connecting with their children and thinking, hold on a minute, you sort of not behave, but you present in this certain way. Maybe I should look more into that, because when you are stuck in a house for a million hours a day with not really a lot to do, not able to get things to do either, I think you do sort of pick up on things, and that might have a massive thing to do with the rise in diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think before COVID sort of happened, everybody was just sort of going through the motions. You know, you send your child to school, you go to work, you pick your child up from school, you have an hour with them while you have dinner, and then you put them to bed. And that was it. You know, you never really did anything else.
Yeah.
So COVID almost gave us that time to slow down and sort of be able to see the world like in our house that we probably never noticed before, because like I say, you're just going through that motion of I need to keep to this routine.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. If we're struggling as adults, then how much children feel, where they've been able to unmask for like a year, basically. Yeah. And then it's like, all right, pop your mask back on now and waltz back into school like nothing's happened. How on earth are children meant to cope with that? And again, talking about rising diagnosis, one of the things that we see a lot popping up, again, unfortunately from schools a lot of the time is, well, you know, it's probably not a diagnosis. He just needs to get used to school again after COVID. It must be a COVID thing, a COVID. Yeah, COVID has had a massive impact. We cannot deny that. But is it that, you know, that it's simply COVID has unmasked us, you know? So if there was any underlying special educational needs or neurodivergence, then it has simply put a spotlight on it, not created it, you know? Anyway, we could talk about it for ages.
I know.
The most bizarre thing in an EHCP.
I'm going to move us on now to something that we'll probably have a really good natter about, because I always find this really interesting. In my role at Sunshine, I don't see a lot of EHCPs. I know you two do. So what's the most bizarre thing you've seen written in one?
Oh, oh my goodness.
I think the weirdest one I've ever seen was the provision for a child, which I never believed this child would get. It was absolutely crazy. He got a hot tub. Like, he got a hot tub at his house. Yeah, like no joke. He got a hot tub.
How on earth did somebody argue that a hot tub was special educational needs in Section F? How?
Emotional regulation.
You in a couple of days.
Apparently, due to anxiety, this child really sort of liked water, found it very calming, very regulating.
Awesome.
So went for a hot tub, and there was then no argument of, well, what about a swimming pool or a bathtub? So no, this child got a hot tub, but for privacy, got the whole like gazebo, everything. It was like fully kitted out hot tub.
That is incredible. That is incredible. Was that you who managed to secure that, or was it on the EHCP that you read?
No. No, it was one of my colleagues at my old firm. I wish I'd done that. Like, I would have been so
that is
proud
amazing.
forever.
I think there needs to be case law on that of some sort, because that is like when we have to argue sometimes about like, right, this child needs, I don't know, a particular type of therapy, and it needs to be in Section F, not health. Section F, fully paid for by education, because, you know, without this therapy, this child cannot go to school.
Yeah.
No, not special educational need, health need. Well, but it is, because it's educating the trade. So when we have those sorts of arguments, I am absolutely flabbergasted by the hot tub. That is amazing. Some of the weirdest that I've seen. So there's boring weird, and then there's hot tub weird. But some of my boring weird is where EHCPs list parents as the people who are going to deliver the provision. And then so it's not, parents should not be named on the plan as delivering the provision. And sometimes you then get into this weird sort of semi-gaslighty argument but the child's not consistently going to school. So who else will deliver the provision if they're just at home? So we want parents to, be doing these particular strategies because they're at home. Okay, well, let's open up that can of worms then, shall we? Parents are parents. Parents are mum and dad, or dad and dad, or mum and mum, or carer, whoever. Parents are parents, and I have lost track of so many of how often parents have just been so exhausted by having to be a teacher, a taxi driver, a therapist, a cook, all of those things. Yeah, we sign up to that when we become parents, but in the world of SEND, it's so much more intense and you have to do so much more, and it often costs a lot more money. So it's completely wrong for parents to be listed as provision enforcers or facilitators, because they just need to be mum and dad. So that has been quite a common feature of some EHC plans that are just like, no. I have another boring but bizarre is when other children are named on the plan, not by name, but other children are given the responsibility of looking after the child with SEND. Yeah. So it says things like such and such will be supported with a peer at least 4 times a day. Okay, fair enough, we understand that. But then in the column of who's responsible, it says things like the peer. The peer is responsible for modelling good speech and language. The peer is responsible for modelling good friendship skills. And it's like, hang on a second, this is another child. Can't make them responsible for this child's plan.
It's like the buddy mentor scheme as well, isn't it, that they have? And I've seen it where the child is sort of the person delivering it, and it's like, no, we need an adult.
Exactly. And I can see the logic. Like, the buddy mentoring sort of approach is legal, and there is a place for it. We're not saying for a second, because then, if we were to turn around and say, right, the adult's got to, deliver everything, then what you have is a child isolated from their peers because the school hasn't been directed to set aside very specific and structured play opportunities. If it doesn't say it, the plan might not happen, and therefore the only person the child has to talk to is another adult, and that's not, it's not natural or useful if that is the child's world. So buddy and mentoring stuff absolutely has a place, but in the plan it's got to say that an adult of appropriate qualification and experience, and you can be really specific about that. You can say things like an adult who has had training and experience in dealing with children on the autism spectrum, for example. An adult has to be responsible for facilitating, structuring, and expertly guiding those peer interactions. It can't just be left as, well, we're just going to buddy this child up with another peer, and I'm going to list the peer as being the one who's going to teach him the friendship skills, because that is crackers. Like, that is another child. Imagine being that other child's parent. Like, my child is been enlisted as a pseudo staff member to upskill another child in knowing how to develop friendships. It would be absolutely mad. I have had any EHCPs with the wrong name in.
Yes, I've heard a lot about the copy paste culture.
Yeah, copy paste.
We do cuppa and chats, obviously, every other Wednesday online and every other Friday in person. And the amount of people that come to those and are just so unbelievably angry that they had something that has been copied over from another EHCP and it's still got the original child's name in. It's really frustrating.
Don't know if this counts, but I had a draft check sent to me about 6 months ago. And Kat, you'll remember this because I told you about it at the time, because you're our data protection lady. We always ask, when you send a draft, make sure you send all the appendices that are listed in Section K. And this local authority had sent me the child's plan, but the entire Section K, including the most sensitive personal information you could possibly imagine, for a different child with the same name. And it took me probably about 20 minutes into the draft check to realise, because I'm there reading through these reports and I'm thinking, they haven't included any of this information in the plan. Like, this is a big ball drop on part of the local authority. There's none of this in here. And then I'm there merrily cutting and pasting it across and like rewording it so it's all nice and I'm thinking, hang on, I haven't read that about that I'm just going to check what this child's parents' names are. And of course, different parent names, different child, different address. I was thinking, oh my God. So of course I then had to go back to the local authority and be like, you sent me a whole section K for a different child with incredibly sensitive personal information in it. Mad. How does that even happen?
That's terrifying.
Yeah. So I don't know if that counts as a bizarre thing in an EHCP, but an entire 120 odd page section K belonging to a different kid. Yeah, it's probably up there.
Definitely does, and I think it's a lesson to make sure anything that you're sent from your local authority you read through hugely, fine-tooth comb, because that's not an isolated incident. That happens often, and it's frustrating that they don't think to check before they just click send. And I know they're busy, I know they've got huge caseloads, but it doesn't take 2 seconds to just have that in your policies and procedure that you must cross-reference names before you click send.
Yeah,
it takes a couple of minutes.
And like, we always understand, don't we, that human error does happen. We're not faultless. I imagine all of us have done something at some point, sent an email to the wrong email address, or something like that. It happens, but there are extremes, and that is verging on an extreme. And imagine being those parents.
I know. And, it was awful, but there we go. But not a hot tub. So I still think that is the highest part.
Not a hot tub.
Hashtag not a hot tub. Listen to Sip of Sunshine. Hashtag not a hot tub.
We're all going to be sitting there now trying to get one in, aren't we?
I'm just saying, I've got my son's EHCP review on Thursday. So if by some magic there is a hot tub in my garden, don't ask
me. We'll all know why.
And on that note, I'm going to go and prepare some reasons of why I need one.
Well, if you need any help, Jess is your lady.
And if anyone needs any help with anything, hot tubs or not, you can find us on social media or via our website, which will be linked on the end of this podcast. So thank you, ladies. I'll let you go back to your work and enjoy some of this beautiful sunshine, because it's just come out here. It's affecting my lighting levels, but that's fine. We'll allow it because it is beautiful sunshine.
Nice. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you very much. It's been lovely.
Thank you both.
Super.
And I'll
catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
And that's all we have time for today. As always, thanks for joining us. If you were watching on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify, you can find an extended version on the Sunshine Academy. That's our subscription-based service that gives you access to our recorded webinar library, learning content for the children, and the Academy community, plus monthly Ask Me Anythings with our advocates. This is all for just $10.99 a month, and you can cancel anytime. Head over to www.sunshine-support.org/academy to find out more. And don't forget, if you need us, we are here. You can also find us on social media. Just search for Sunshine Support. So thanks for watching or listening, and we'll be back soon.